What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Next to me here, I have the all-new, sort of, 2027 Chevy Bolt. All right, so starting here on the front of the vehicle, if you're familiar with the previous generation Bolt, you'll know that we had separate designs for the headlights between the EUV and the EV. The EUV had a split headlight design, that's what I had. So you had a body colored gap that went along right here, and then you still had low profile LED daytime running lights and turn signals, but you had a separate section down below. They went away from that this generation. They kind of went with the EV styling instead, which is this combined headlight. So you've got your main beams and your high beams down below in that portion there, and then your turn signal and your daytime running lights are going to be up here. Now, one thing I do want to point out, this hasn't even gotten a stock number yet. It is brand new to inventory where I work, and I want to just go ahead and grab it and take a look with you guys. So I don't have all of the details and pricing written out, but I will figure that out for you guys, and I'll have some information on screen. So they went with the EV headlights there. As far as the front grille goes, I mean, I'll put some side-by-sides for you guys so you can see kind of the design differences. It's pretty difficult to tell much of a difference. I think they went a little bit more towards the Equinox EV styling. So you still kind of have this faux grille in the middle here, but it's not like down below. They kind of have more of a traditional looking grille actually down below now. You've got a little splitter at the bottom. You know, this is the RS, so you're going to get the RS badging there and some of those gloss black accents that we'll take a look at. You do have a black Chevy bow tie, which is nice. Front-facing camera, this is not new. This was available on the Premier version on the previous gen. I never had one, but it was available, and that works with that kind of 360-degree camera system that Chevy has. Bolt nameplate in black, just like we had on the previous versions. Now, some of you may be disappointed in this, but we still do not have a frunk on the Bolt. I would really like if we had a frunk on the Bolt, because as we'll take a look at in a sec, the rear storage is not fantastic. So not a ton of cargo space in this vehicle overall. You do have all your electronics down there. You've got access to your fluids like your wiper fluid and things, but yeah, just, you know, easy access for repairs and things like that, but no frunk. Now, to be fair, I'm not sure how big of a frunk they could actually fit, but I always say some frunk is better than no frunk, so unfortunately still nothing. One more thing I did want to mention about the front grille is, like I said, this is an RS specific grille. So if you go with the LT, it's going to look a little bit different. But if we come around here to the side, another kind of exclusive thing you're going to get with the RS trim are these 17-inch gloss black wheels. They look absolutely fantastic. I had this exact same thing on my Bolt. When I had one, I powder coated them myself. They were previously silver, but here on the RS, you can get those gloss black wheels just default. But moving up here to the charging port, this is the key feature in my opinion for 2027, and that is that we now have a standard NACS port here on the Bolt. So this is going to work without an adapter with all of Tesla's supercharging network, which is, as you probably know, extensive, which is great news for the Bolt, because previously you had to have an adapter that was just to use the destination chargers. You couldn't actually charge Chevy products on Tesla's supercharging network. They opened that up recently, but now they have the standard, so obviously they're able to do that. You also benefit greatly now on the Bolt with improved fast charging speeds. So we went from about 55 kilowatt DC fast charging to 150 kilowatt DC fast charging. So that is absolutely huge and a massive improvement for the Bolt, and I'm happy to see that. They say you can go from like 10 to 80% in 26 minutes, I think. So, you know, pretty reasonable, and you know, much better than I had on my Bolt. Gloss black mirror caps here are also going to be part of that RS package, and you do have blind spot monitoring on them. They are manual folding mirrors, as you'd expect on something that's a little bit lower cost. Still have the same keyless access. That is a better side view. So I made a kind of what to expect video based on the renderings that we got originally from Chevy, the little teaser images. And honestly, the rendering that I made using AI was pretty similar to what we ended up getting here. So you've definitely got more of the EUV styling or Trax styling that Chevy has had in the past, but obviously we don't have the EUV moniker. We're just going with the Bolt here, but it's a little bit longer, more extended than the previous Bolt EV. I need to look at the specs exactly to compare the size to the EUV, but in my opinion, it looks more similar to the size of my EUV that I had in the past. So I'll have all the dimensions on screen for you. overview so you can see, and I'll also give you a comparison between the previous gen EV and EUV so you know the difference there. You do have a sunroof up top here. It's a little bit of a panoramic roof that extends into the second row a little bit. You've got these gloss black roof rails that is part of the RS package as well. If we come around to the rear of the Bolt here, it is very Chevy, a modern Chevy EV look. Very much so up there with the Equinox with the previous generation Bolt. Nothing crazy here. You've got your LED brake lights here that kind of wrap around. They have a little bit of a Y shape to them. You've got your RS badging down below, Bolt badging in, you know, your powder coated black. Nothing crazy at the bottom, pretty simplified look. You do have your reverse light down there though. You do have some ultrasonic sensors dotted around your rear camera here. And then up underneath, you're gonna get this other camera that works with your rear view mirror camera that you've got on the inside. Black Chevy bow tie. One thing you'll notice is we still do not have a power lift gate on the Bolt here, but I mean, that makes sense to me. It's a cost-saving thing. They want to keep this priced as reasonably as possible in comparison to the rest of the lineup. You do get some underfloor storage here. We've had that in the past, and you've got your dual level charging cable there, which will let you do level 1 or level 2 charging, depending on what your needs are with those adapters you can swap out. You've got some lighting back here. Again, not a massive trunk. 16.2 cubic feet, I think is the exact dimensions. If you fold the second row seats down with these little toggles here, 60-40 split, you can get up to 56 cubic feet. So there's definitely the capability for more space, but the just standard cargo space is not amazing. You can remove this, like I said, and get a little bit deeper storage if you want to store some taller objects. And if you just want to keep some stuff under there and use this kind of just for groceries and things like that, it's more than reasonable. All right, let's hop here to the second row. Like I said, this is Chevy's lowest cost EV at the moment. So you're going to get a lot of plastic, right? This is just a hard, rugged, stamped black plastic all the way down on the back row here. And this is the higher priced RS trim. As far as the seating surfaces go, you've got Chevy's Evo-Tex. This is their kind of synthetic leather seating surface. And since you do have the RS, you're going to get some red stitching, which is a nice touch. I like that. Pretty decent legroom, if I'm being honest. No mat pockets on the back of either of these seats, but I mean, you can't really tuck your feet up underneath, I'll say that. But like I said, knee volume, actually pretty good. I mean, look at that. And I have this seat, I could honestly have scooted this seat up at 6'1" and still been comfortable, and I would have had a decent bit more legroom. So shoulder room, passenger kind of overall second row volume is not amazing. Middle seat's gonna be pretty squished, but you do get 2 USB-C charging ports back there. Like I said, that panoramic roof is gonna extend a little ways back here. So you're not gonna be uncomfortable with 2 adults back here. You're really not. All right, before we get in, let's take a look at the door panel materials here for the first row. Again, hard black plastic here. I would have liked to see a little bit more of a soft touch material up top, especially on the higher end one. I don't know if the LT has anything different. I highly doubt it. Hard black plastic here. You get a little bit of soft rubber here, and then you get some kind of cool gray plastic for a little bit more kind of design and texture there, but nothing crazy. You do get power adjustable seats there. And then, like I said, RS badging and that red accent stitching on these Evo-Tex perforated seats. So this is the updated 2027 Bolt cabin here. And I'm gonna say that I think Chevy did the right thing here by playing it safe, but iterating enough to make it feel fresh. You've got a heated steering wheel over here, electronic parking brake. You've got your lane keeping there. Leather wrapped heated steering wheel. You do have your adaptive cruise control here, and Super Cruise is available as an option. This specific one does not have it, but you can add it to the RS or the LT if you do want some hands-free driving. I've checked that out before on the channel. I'll have it linked below. Media controls over here. And then this is Chevy's new kind of stock design. They're going with this on all of their modern EVs and non-EVs, but you've got kind of a wiper turn signal combo stock over here with all your controls. And then your main shift stock is going to be right here. And that's very simple, you know, down for drive, up for reverse, back for neutral, and then push this button for park. Pretty simple design. If you've watched my Equinox EV review or any of my other Chevy EV reviews in the past, this is Chevy's newest infotainment system. This is standard. Whether you get an EV or a non-EV, you're going to have this same look. So it's this Android-based system with all these blue and gold accents throughout. It's, again, I've mentioned before, not my favorite system, but it's not bad by any means. and you get a lot of nice vehicle information. You got your battery percentage there. We can see we're at 79%, and we've got 209 miles. This is rated for like a little over 250 miles of range, so a little bit more than the previous generation, but again, nothing earth-shattering there. And this is an 11-inch driver information display, and then if we move over here, we've got an 11.3-inch infotainment display. And again, this is still built on that Google platform. So you're going to have all the Google Assistant, Google Play Store, Google News, Google Podcasts, different stuff like that. One thing you do not have is any kind of phone projection. So unlike my 2022 Chevy Bolt EUV, which had Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, this has neither of those, even though it's based on Android. So you're still going to get some nice features here, even though you can't use CarPlay or Android Auto. You've got your different drive modes here you can switch between. You've got your charging menu, which is going to allow you to precondition, schedule home charging. You've got your 360-degree camera system I mentioned. So you've got your overhead view here, and then you can tap all of these and switch through all of the different angles since you've got so many cameras all around the vehicle. I didn't mean to mention you do have cameras on this rearview mirror as well on the bottom. So that's really nice. With the RS, you do also get multicolor interior ambient lighting. If you go into this little toggle right here, it's going to give you some more kind of vehicle settings that you might not have buttons for. You can click this, see more controls, drive and park. This will allow you to turn on one pedal driving since you do not have that anywhere else to turn on. And then auto vehicle hold is always good to have, but I do prefer driving with one pedal driving. You've got normal and high. Let's just do normal. And when you toggle to have it on the home screen, it's going to show up here at the top as well. One thing you will probably notice is we do not have any kind of push to start button anywhere. It's not on the side of the steering wheel or anything like that, nothing down below. That is pretty normal now. I would say the vast majority of EVs don't have push to start anymore, and the Bolt here is no different, and other Chevy EVs are no different. You just sit down in the seat, it detects you, and then you can automatically shift gears as long as the key is in your pocket. So simple as that. When you are ready to get out of the vehicle, it will automatically turn off. If you do want to turn it off, there is a button up here you can click, and that will allow you to turn the vehicle off, but it'll do it on its own. You do have a wireless charging pad here, and then kind of a storage slot, and then another very small storage tray. That is the back of it right there. So just put a little something down there. I do like that they kind of went with this upgraded split design. Back in the day, I can't remember if the 2022 EVs were like this, but I know prior to that, there was an opening here on like the 2020 Bolt EVs and things like that before the EUV came out. There was more of a gap here. On the EUV, it was closed off, so it would cover this entire space. Your little shift pad was right here and all that kind of stuff. But now they've broken it up, given you more storage space inside of the cabin because you don't have your traditional transmission running through the middle of the vehicle. So you've got this area down here, and you've got these little adjustable pieces that you can remove and move around. So if you want, a little bit of a smaller pocket, you can put that there. You can take it out altogether if you want something larger to fit there. We've got a 12-volt outlet here and 2 more USB-C ports right there. And then the cup holder design is very similar, so you can adjust these depending on the size of your cup, or you can take them out altogether if you don't want them in there. It's up to you. Inside of the center armrest here, nothing. It's just a deep pocket, no light, no plugs, nothing, just a pocket. You get a little textured pad over here as well, and then a little more storage underneath it. So I guess they're trying to make up for the lack of cargo space in the vehicle, but it's really just like trinket shelves and things. I guess you could just load this up with crap if you wanted to. And then you do have your traditional glove box underneath. Up top, you've got your OnStart controls, some dome lights there, and then your sunroof controls. We can go ahead and open that sunroof up and take a look. Boom, there you go. And you do have an auto-dimming rear view mirror here that is a 2-part mirror, so you can use it like this, just in its normal mirror configuration. And then you also have that rear view mirror camera built into it. You can switch to that if you prefer that, which I do like that a lot. All right, so that's pretty much everything that the vehicle has to offer. Let's go ahead and take it for a test drive, see how it handles, see how it performs. We notice anything significant different, and we'll talk about some of the pricing structure and what I think Chevy's idea with the Bolt even is. Now, before we go, I got some numbers for you guys. I've put them on screen throughout the video, but just kind of as a summary, the 2 trims that are available are the LT, which I do not have, and the RS here, which we're taking a look at. The LT starts at $28,595. You option things on, so on and so forth. And then the RS starts at $31,600. When I bought my Bolt EUV, it was about $35,000, $36,000. So this is significantly cheaper than that was at the time. Apologies for the placement of the sun. That is out of my control. Now, this battery pack for the 2027 is Ultium based. I don't think it's Ultium. I think GM might be doing away with Ultium from what I remember. I'm not super connected with GM. Now, outside of working for a Chevy dealership, I don't spend as much time with them as I used to. I'm more in the Tesla space, but this is Ultium based battery pack. It's the same kind of battery technology, but it's got improved performance. The mechanical components are improved for this new generation. So you do have a little bump in horsepower. I think it's about 10 more horsepower than you had previously, maybe 9. I think I had 201 horsepower on my 2022 Bolt. This has about 210 horsepower. 0 to 60, I don't have, official way to measure it, but I think the number I saw was 6.8 seconds. So this is not a performance machine. It's not going to blow you away performance-wise, but having that little bump in horsepower, and it's never a bad thing. As far as visibility goes, the Bolt has always been very, very easy to drive, very, very easy to see out of, all the way back from when I originally had mine. And even before that, it was one of my favorite vehicles to drive before I even owned an EV, just because of how fun it was. And, it's a cool car, Obviously, EV technology has changed a lot since, when I first started driving them way back when, but you got tons of open space. You don't have really any significant blind spots. The A-pillars, minuscule. Big open front windshield. You can see pretty clearly out the back, but of course you have your rear view mirror camera, so that's really not a concern anyway. One thing I really, really liked about my previous generation EV, well, two big things that I want to talk about actually, but the first one was the infotainment system. I just preferred the last gen system over this system. I know this is more feature rich and it's got some different components and, probably functions more smoothly. It does, probably, statistically function more smoothly. I just preferred the look of the last gen system. This is very standardized Chevy, right? The Bolt's kind of had its own thing going for a little bit there, and I kind of like that. But I understand why they went away with that. Just this system is not my favorite system. Again, it still is better than some. It's just not my favorite design-wise. But I've mentioned that before in my Equinox video as well. Another big thing that I'm really sad to see gone is the Regen on-demand paddle. Even the Equinox EV had a Regen on-demand. It was more of a button, but it had it. There's no Regen on-demand paddle in here. And I'm really bummed about that because that was truly one of my favorite things about driving my Bolt. I miss it on my Tesla. You would accelerate up and then you'd have regen braking and it would slow you down. And then if you needed that extra little boost, you'd squeeze that paddle kind of like a handbrake almost. And they got rid of it. I don't know why. Let's get a little acceleration test. I think we are in sport. Yeah, we are in sport mode. All right, that's pedal to the floor. That's full 169 kilowatt output right there. It feels like 210 horsepower. But it is a compact EV, so you still get a little bit of that oomph. You get a little punch back there. Again, it's not going to blow you away, but it definitely feels faster than my Bolt that I had in 2022. So still really quiet overall driving feel. Let's get some numbers though. This is at idle. About 37 dB at idle. But I think overall, the comfort, you've got lumbar support, which I really like. The seats, the seats don't feel like anything crazy, but they're comfortable. I wish there was a little bit longer of a thigh area. It's a little bit stubby, so you gotta get kind of this weird angle of your legs there. But this is Chevy's continued effort to kind of set an entry point for the EV space. And for that, I think it does a good job because there's something missing, right? There's very few small sedans that are electric. There's very few subcompact SUVs that are electric. It just is kind of an open market right now because everything is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So having an opportunity to have the Bolt where it's positioned was a huge selling point for Chevy, and that's why it made absolutely no sense for them to kill it. And I'm glad they just killed it to redesign it and bring it back out. Happy about that, and I hope it continues for a long time.
Hey, real quick, editing Lewis here with a working mic pack. Go figure. I just shot this video today and I was accumulating pictures and things like that to splice throughout the video, and I typed in Chevy Bolt EV and the very first thing that popped up was this article that says, can't make this up, GM to end Chevy Bolt EV production next year. This freaking Bolt can't catch a break, man. To further elaborate on this article from TechCrunch, General Motors is shuffling where its vehicles are made in a move that will shift production away from China and Mexico and to a US factory in Kansas. This is all having to do with the tariffs and the tax credit going away and all that kind of stuff. This will mean that it will end its rebooted Chevy Bolt EV, well, they're not calling it that, Chevy Bolt production in the Fairfax assembly plant in Kansas. They're moving some, where did I read? Some Buick Envision, next-gen Buick Envision that's built in China. They're moving that to the Fairfax plant. So they're kicking the, sorry, I'm still getting over being sick. They're kicking the brand new, recently released 2027 Chevy Bolt out the door in favor of more combustion engine vehicles, because like we all predicted, GM can't actually follow through on its EV goals because it's hemorrhaging money making its EVs. So GM spokesperson said, when we revealed the Bolt in October, we said, and it was widely reported, that it would be a limited run model. So they're going to make this thing for like a year. So if you really like the Bolt and you don't trust GM to bring it back with any amount of consistency or at all, I would definitely jump on getting a 2027 Bolt. But of course, I had not seen this article yet when I was shooting this video. So when I'm kind of talking and doing my wrap up, I'm making it sound like the Bolt's going to live on forever. And clearly GM just refuses to do that for some reason. So maybe we get another Bolt in 2029 or however long they take, or maybe we get some other, you know, all new compact SUV. Maybe we get a Trax EV or something like that. But if you really like the Bolt nameplate, and I do, and you want to, you know, get one of the last ones potentially, 2027 maybe your only bet. So just something to keep in mind. Sorry for the, the bad news towards the end of the video, but it is what it is. GM can't make up their mind, and here we are again.
So around 63, 64 dB at city speeds. We'll hop up on the highway here, get a quick test there. But just overall, kind of my thoughts on, I think the look is great. I'm glad that they stuck to the roots, like I said, about the interior. I'm glad they kind of did that on the exterior too, where I really liked the look of the EUV, and that's one of the reasons I picked it, right? I kind of wanted to design it to look like a Blazer RS because I really liked that back in the day. And I'm glad that they kept some of the similar stylings, but still kind of refined it a little bit. They kind of pulled bits and pieces from all of their current EVs and the previous versions of the Bolt and kind of did a little blend of it. And I think it's effective and for what it is. When I figured out that they were going to be discontinuing the Bolt, I actually made a video talking about what I hope to see in the future editions of the Bolt. So I'm going to do a little follow-up video on that and talk about, now that we've actually got the Bolt in person here, and can talk through all the things that it actually ended up having. I want to compare my list to that. I'm super curious. I can't even remember all that I said, but some of the stuff on there I think we definitely got. I mean, we got an RS, which I definitely wanted, so that's one thing. But I'm going to go through that list and figure out what we actually ended up with. But I do really think that it's not a massive upgrade over if you had something like the 2023 Bolt EUV. Like, should you upgrade? I don't know. So a little on the loud side at 72 dB, but again, nothing crazy. Going back to the question, like, should you upgrade? Like, is it worth going from something like the 2023 EUV to the 2027 Bolt? It's not an EV, not an EUV. It's a hard question to answer for somebody else because it completely depends on your situation. Like, if your lease is up and you want to stick with the Bolt family, by all means, do it. But are, like, the overall upgrades worth it? I think the design is really similar. You know, slight changes, but mostly similar. So I wouldn't think that that's really a selling point. Unless you want one of the new colors like this habanero orange, then sure, do it. Is the technology that much of an upgrade on the interior? I don't think so. But again, this is coming from somebody who, you know, doesn't love this infotainment design. So if you really, really like this infotainment design, then sure, maybe it is worth it to you. But, you know, you lose Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, so maybe it's not worth it. You know, you get a little bit of a redesign in certain spots and places, but overall, it's all pretty similar to what you've already got. The one big selling point to me is that NACS port standard and that improved fast charging speeds. So if you're a person who doesn't have a great home charging setup, or supercharges regularly or wants to travel more effectively and efficiently in the Bolt, this is definitely worth the upgrade. So that's my one big caveat. If you're a traveler, you love the size of the Bolt, you're a small family, something like that, and you want to be able to get around easier and again more efficiently, then yeah, I think the 2027 Bolt is well worth the upgrade. If you're in the market for a new EV and you want something that's pretty compact but relatively affordable, then yeah, I think the Bolt is a great option. And again, if you are going to be traveling, it's a no-brainer to upgrade to 2027.
So thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, drop a like. Let me know down in the comments what you think about the redesigned 2027 Chevy Bolt. Not the EV, not the EUV, just the Bolt. Let's talk about it down in the comments. And if you guys want to pick up a 2027 Chevy Bolt for yourself, or an Equinox EV or Silverado EV or anything like that, head to the link in the description. Go to bachmannchevrolet.com. Check out their massive inventory. Huge shout out to them for letting me use this Bolt for this video. It's a very special Bolt. GM sent it to us early, so I was able to make this video, which is really, really cool, and I'm really appreciative of that. So again, drop a like, drop a comment, and don't forget to hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.